So here you have it, the age-old problem, and what I think is going to be a solution. Let me describe the problem for you. You have a basement wall, a vertical concrete wall with a lower level slab. No matter how much waterproofing and planning you do with positive drainage on the outside of the wall, over time, water can migrate through a concrete wall. Contrary to what a lot of people think, concrete is porous, and water will find a way through stress cracks. So, allowing for that contingency or that fact to happen, let's plan for an interior water drainage system. What I've done here on a new construction wall, vertical wall, is I've created a gap from the concrete floor, between the edge of the concrete floor and the vertical wall. And I created the gap by using styrofoam. Before the floor was poured, I had a styrofoam installed between the edge of the floor and the edge of the wall. Now, you'll see that I've taken out the styrofoam thus far from that end to where I'm at right now. And as I pull the camera around, you'll see where I have not removed the styrofoam yet. You may be wondering what that green material is. Well, that green material is simply nothing more than a vapor barrier. I use a 10 mil vapor barrier, relatively thick, and I've put the vapor barrier under the finished floor slab, and then put the styrofoam between the vapor barrier and the concrete wall. So what this does is it allows me to be able to come up to the wall, pull the vapor barrier down, exposing styrofoam. Now you see it. When I come along with my hammer, use the claw in first, step on the vapor barrier, put in the styrofoam, pull it out. And it comes out a lot easier than you would think. If you do this without a vapor barrier, you're going to have some problems. You're going to have that concrete sticking in that vapor barrier, and it'll be difficult to pull that styrofoam out. You'll have the concrete sticking to the styrofoam, and it'd be very difficult to pull the styrofoam out. Not impossible, which is where this comes in handy, a claw hammer. You'd be able to dig it out with a claw hammer, but let's just make the world a little easier and try to plan ahead and use the vapor barrier as a way to keep the concrete from adhering to the styrofoam. Once again, in, pulling up, and pull it out. End result is you have a gap between the vertical wall and the horizontal concrete floor. Now what you can do with this is you can finish off your wall on the inside here. You could put a piece of plastic on the inside here, but you take your 2x6 wall, which is what I like to build with, and that 2x6 plate or bottom sill will sit right on this floor, and it'll plane over on top, out over the top of this gap. This happens to be a 2-inch styrofoam, so I'll get a good amount of bearing, the width of a 2x6 stud out here on the actual floor, enough to bear a wall on. So if any moisture was to come through the wall, it would come and fall down vertically. It'll fall down and fill this gap. So any moisture will migrate downward. It will come through the wall, and it'll come and fall into the bottom of this crack. This crack, the bottom of this crack, is the spread footing for this wall. So there's a concrete surface down here, a horizontal concrete surface, a spread footing, and then my floor comes over the top of the spread footing. So I've got, actually, this is a 4-inch floor here, so I've got 4-inch deep crack. That's a lot of area. That's a lot of volume that can hold a lot of water. That will have to completely fill with water to ever come out on top of my floor. And that won't happen if I plan ahead on the exterior part of my wall. Now this system that I've put up here works out because I have a daylight style basement wall, where a walkout style basement wall, where I can take that crack and extend it all the way to the edge of my building, and I'll just create a channel out there. I'll bury some drain tile or a French drain and take any water that fills this 4-inch crack deep. Water finds or seeks its level, it'll migrate to the edges. So I've got that edge over here, and if I turn around this way, I got this edge over here, this daylight edge over here. So the water will seek its level, and it will eventually outpour on the end. It's a passive system. There's no pump. It works on gravity, which never breaks down. Moisture comes through the wall. It'll eventually come down. It'll fill the crack up, seek its own level, and work its way out. This is just one of those things that you're thinking ahead and planning ahead when you're doing a basement. It just seems to make a lot of sense to me. It's not rocket science. I can still frame up against this wall with my studs, and my studs will bear on the floor, enough bearing on the floor, and vertically rest against the wall. And I can finish that off with drywall on the outside of the stud. Any moisture would come through the wall. There should be a piece of plastic if you really want to keep the moisture from gathering and coming into and securing humidity in your room. It'll come into the back side of the plastic and fall down to the crack and work its way out of the building. This is Dale Kleiman with a construction tip on building or planning ahead on the building of a basement wall for your home. Dale Kleiman's Landmark Group. Thank you.